This is our only world now.
No!
Last time on Mysterious Island. Cyrus, what happened in the lake?
Nothing there.
Dementia and paranoia.
Oh, Cyrus, what's happening to you?
I can't trust my senses, Gideon. I see things that are not possible.
What happened to her?
Well, you were with her.
Captain?
We saw Ayrton's coat. He's gone to fetch it.
No one rules my life.
But how will you cope with culturally sanctioned murder in your midst?
Ja, ai, apple taal.
You see, the trick is to preserve the flavor, not to let it dissipate.
You know how to jug a hare? Well, Gideon, I look forward to your culinary expertise tomorrow night. Perhaps you can capture a pig and jug that.
My dear Joanna, I didn't mean to...
No. I think Joanna has a point. I can't easily recall the last time you spoiled us with your cooking skills. As for me, I think Joanna's meal is splendid. What we used to be served during the war in the mess tent, when there was a tent, now that was dissipated flavor. Of course, they were very often trying to make very little go a very long way.
For the gallant officers and gentlemen, well, did it not occur to you, Captain Harding and Mr. Spilett, that in this mess good manners might go a long way?
Societal rituals. How does one culture deal with the beliefs and rituals of another? Will they display tolerance? When two groups are presented with a situation without common ground, which group will display a willingness to understand and which will blindly try to impose its will without for one moment questioning whether it's right, wrong, or valid?
Ni nana witi bako hunu mai singa. Ifitala umtai ma. Kemal. Ikirina ki aina Solomon.
Koto.
Akakat ma volo ne pakara. Itiwa alo?
Akiba. Arai huluka akata. Alai le lunga aratak.
Itiwa ai akakat.
Neko. Oi.
Akakat itiwa hengmak. Ikma hengmak ai.
Urutok. Sino sanarat.
Oh, you're up. Can I do anything for you?
No. No, thank you, Herbert. I just want to be left alone.
The captain and Mr. Spilett are gonna prepare you a fine meal. Pork, if they can catch it. They want to make you feel better.
But whatever happens, you are not to compliment Gideon Spilett on his cooking.
I understand. Are you hungry? Can I get you anything to eat?
No. This place has stolen my appetite.
Etu Tanaka.
Eho. Eriwa tenok.
Yetsak. Kiwaho.
I fear that my reduced mobility means that I will be unable to control this experiment as closely as I may wish, which is a shame, as it is proving to be one of my most interesting experiments to date.
There can be no doubt seafood is certainly easier to bag.
You don't suppose Joanna would accept a heartfelt apology, do you?
I wouldn't tempt fate, Spilett.
There's two of them.
Watch out for the mother. They can be savage.
Mother?
Pig. Pig.
It appears that my intervention is too little and too late. The ritual is nearly completed. Curse this infection.
That's the ticket, Harding.
Ekemai. Ekemai.
Wait! Help me.
Throw down your gun.
You speak English.
Throw down your gun.
I can't move. Wait, help me. Yeah! Thank you. Where do you come from?
Where do you come from?
We come from America. We're stranded here, shipwrecked.
We? How many of you?
4.
Where are the others?
At our shelter, I was hunting.
And you became the prey.
Indeed. Why are you here?
Come. Dinawa, ilato, alatok.
A paralysis is creeping through my right side. I resent the intimation of mortality, but appreciate that we may exit the game together.
Well done, Harding. Crackling for dinner.
Itiwayala akat.
Hineu malako.
Harding! Hello!
I have the same dream over and over again. I'm an old woman, taking a nap in a rocking chair on a porch, a cottage somewhere. Then it changes. I'm still an old woman, but I'm here. Then I wake up. And of course I'm still here. And I just wonder how long it'll be before I become the haggard old woman in my dreams.
We'll get home one day.
I don't think so, Herbert. This is it. You and me, Cyrus, Gideon. The new society in the land that God forgot.
Shouldn't say such things.
Well, you don't agree? God's not here, Herbert. He's busy elsewhere. Oh, it may have been here once, but I fear we've slipped from the sights of the Almighty.
You shouldn't talk like that. You shouldn't even think like that.
Well, why not? Isn't that the luxury of life on an island? You can speak what's in your heart.
You think there's no God?
I don't know what to think anymore.
Hello. My name is Cyrus Harding.
She doesn't speak your language.
And how is it that you do?
I speak the tongue of the missionaries. Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
There are missionaries on your island.
There were.
Do sailing ships ever stop at your island?
Sometimes, yes. Not often.
Why have you come to this island?
We were drawn here.
What do you mean?
We have a serious matter to resolve.
How was the hunt?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Harding. Isn't he back yet?
No. What happened?
Well, we saw 2 pigs. Split up for the chase. I lost mine. Still, heard shots. Harding must have bagged one of them.
And you bagged some vegetation? I hope it didn't put up too much of a fight.
Yes, well, I looked for him, couldn't find him. Must be on his way back.
You heard shots and you came home.
Good luck. Thank you.
Yahweh Palaka.
What does she say?
Your God is treacherous.
Iki akata. Neto filak polang.
She says he brings death where he promises salvation.
What does she mean?
Your missionaries taught us to pray to him. Then he nearly wiped us out with hurricanes.
If you took us back with you and we were able to get on a passing sailing ship, we could arrange for many things that your people need.
What kind of things?
Anything you need.
Guns?
If you thought that would help.
Neko, alamanga kitola.
She asks if you have guns to kill the hurricanes.
I understand that you've known many white people who are dangerous and dishonest. But not all of us are that way. Please, come back with me and meet my friends. I can see that you are a peaceful people. Let me show you that we are too.
Stonefish, coral reefs, rock pools. Deadly. No antidote.
What does she say?
She says she will meet with your people today. She is interested in the spirit forces on this island. Tomorrow we will finish our business here.
Don't move it, 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 don't move it.
Don't move!
Wait! Herbert, no! Alaku!
Please don't move!
No, don't shoot! No, stop! Herbert, put the gun down!
But Captain, he's aiming at you.
Just point the gun down and everything will be all right.
Let her go.
I've invited our visitors here to dinner.
Oh. I'm sorry.
In case anyone else arrives to rescue me, I think it would be wise if Herbert and I carried the rifles. But you're most welcome to take the bullets out first. Herbert?
Wait! You're too fast!
Captain, Mr. Spilett came back empty-handed. He thought that you might have caught something.
So I've invited our guests to dinner and there's no dinner.
I guess.
If you'll give me back the bullets, I will shoot a bird or two so that we may have something to eat.
Do not waste your bullets. Denoa, guard the overcut.
What did the old woman mean by the spirit forces on this island?
Shh. You must remain still and quiet.
Gideon, yesterday you undertook to make provisions and I've not had a bite since.
Well, there's fruit inside.
Well, I'd hardly call that a meal.
Hello. We've brought some friends.
Cyrus, who are these people?
I haven't found out yet where they're from, but one of the young men speaks English. I've invited our visitors to dine with us.
Oh, did you bag a pig?
Unfortunately not, but our friends have come to the rescue.
He called for them, and they just came to him.
Thank you. Gideon will take care of those.
You surely don't expect me to pluck fowl.
Why not?
We had staff to do that sort of thing.
Who are you? What is it you know?
Well, Gideon, could you have done as well?
By the manner in which you're devouring it, I believe not.
At times we've had these birds. They've been tough as boot leather. Hope our guest will teach us his method.
Well, that may not be possible.
Oh, why not?
This could be the last meal that he ever prepares.
What do you mean?
They've come to fight for the young woman. The strong one wins.
And the loser?
The loser is dead.
Well, she may not want the winner.
What if she doesn't want the winner?
What she wants does not matter.
You speak of her as if she were a piece of property.
I find it surprising you allow women to speak during the supper.
We couldn't stop them if we tried.
Oh, you'd like that, would you? To treat me the way they treat their women. And what might the result of that be? You and Gideon fighting to the death over someone who's not interested in either of you.
Tell the woman to stop.
Why'd you have to kill him? And what do you have to say about all this? This is all about you.
It is forbidden to talk to her.
Oh, he speaks to a woman at last. And why is it forbidden to talk to her? To keep the real world at bay?
She may not speak or be spoken to until after the ritual is over.
Ayana tok. Inki palok.
Enough! Can't you stop her? She knows nothing. This is our way, the way it has to be. No!
Well, it seems she has a mind of her own after all.
If two men wanted the same woman in your society, what would happen?
They would work it out peacefully.
How?
The woman would choose. Eko.
Emini ai aladok.
In your society, if the woman loved the one who died, what would happen?
Loved.
I thought that might be a difficult concept for you.
She means, what if the woman really wanted to be with the loser?
She would not. She would go with the strong man.
This happens every time?
Why?
The women do what they are told. That is our way.
Ayakoka.
She wants to know who the other spirit is on the island.
Tell me about the other spirit.
Nekto ayusok. Neka ikok.
He is going to die.
What does she mean? Tell me.
How can you believe such primitive nonsense?
A woman like you wouldn't understand.
What would you know? What do you care about what a woman thinks? Come with me.
Oko! Let her go. You do not respect our beliefs. You insult us.
Your beliefs insult the preciousness of human life.
Do not interfere in things you do not understand, woman.
If you're so sure that this is right, that it's what's best for your people, and that the woman would go with a strong man, as you said, why are you so afraid to let her choose?
It's not our way. It has got nothing to do with her.
But surely she would choose the right man. She's of your people. She understands your ways. What are you afraid of?
What is this afraid? I am afraid of nothing.
You're afraid to hear which one she wants.
It is not up to her to decide.
Like I said, you're a coward.
Joanna!
Well, it's true.
Joanna! Very well. Let her show who she would choose. Etiwa alo ek, alo Iraq. Huh?
Ikayarak. You don't know what you've done.
You speak English?
I chose not to speak your tongue again. Since the white men came to our island, they brought nothing but bad. Trying to make us change our ways, bringing diseases, and then your gods destroyed my people with hurricanes.
I just don't see why Tinawa has to die. I don't understand.
Tinawa is a very special man, but in a different way from Tinape. He has a way with the creatures of the forest that nobody else has. He never speaks, but he understands everything. It's why the remaining elders begged him not to go through with the ritual. Tenewa and Tenape are the last remaining brothers of the royal family. Even though it meant to break with tradition, the elders tried to stop it for the future of our people.
So why does he want to do it?
He believed strongly in the traditions. When they tried to stop him going through with it, they were trying to change important rules. They declared that he should continue as spiritual leader alongside his brother as chief. But he declared that tradition must be observed at all costs. And he is in love with her. It is a tragedy for our people to lose him. After the hurricane, there's not much left. Now we're about to lose our culture, but at least we will go on. If we were to lose Tenape, our best leader, hunter, warrior, navigator, that would be the end.
Tamure! Tamure!
So. Tenak. Tima eke oko ika. Tenak.
Oko ato oko yetzok.
Tenak.
Tenak.
Enough. Tomorrow we will finish it.
They must have started.
There's nothing we can do.
This killing will happen. All I've done is put thoughts into that poor girl's head that'll do her no good.
Well, at least we understand now what was really going on.
What a terrible waste.
I suppose if those two are princes, that would make Mahina a princess.
It's possible.
Do you think a princess from their society would ever marry an outsider?
I don't know.
You women are a conundrum, are they not?
What's that?
Oh, I'm not sure. It's something I've heard Captain Harding say.
Ah, well, a conundrum is exactly what women are sometimes. Is there a point to this?
No, I'm just wondering.
Well, my feeling is they're easy to underestimate. I think if a woman decides concerning a man, then the man really has little chance.
Mm-hmm. For instance, if those two were to end up killing each other by some accident during the duel, that would leave Mahina here on the island.
And she might end up marrying someone. someone like...
Well, like you.
Like me. Oh, but what a preposterous idea. Young woman like that and me.
Well, why not?
I don't know, because...
I suppose you're right. If that old woman even saw you touch Mahina, she'd tear you limb from limb. Or at least have another warrior do it for her.
Charming.
Going down to the beach to look for them.
Haven't you done enough already?
I won't interfere. I just want to be with her.
I think we should all go.
I don't know how I'll ever stop thinking about what I've done.
What you nearly did. Saved on the brink of disaster, I'd say.
Don't blame yourself, Joanna. I'm sure we all agreed with you, really. I know I did.
Oh, perhaps not quite to the same extent, but it's true.
I just didn't want to make them too angry in the hope that we might be able to get away from here.
Well, I suppose if I'm alive tomorrow, yeah, I should offer up my thanks.
No thanks. You brought us here. Now go. Bring the rest of my people.
You saved my life, so most certainly. But how?
The same way you brought us here. They leave today from our island to celebrate the wedding of our new chief. Now it's here. Go. Bring them here. Drink.
Fine.
What happened?
He committed suicide. He killed himself in Tenawa's trap to make it look as though Tenawa killed him.
If Tenawa appears to be the real victor, then perhaps he can gain sufficient respect to lead his people. It is a noble thing he's done, to stage his own death for the future of others. But at what cost? The extinction of his tribe?
What have I done?
An absolutely satisfactory conclusion to part one. The medicine woman.
What is it about her?
Has unwittingly perhaps presented me with a task that fits perfectly with part two of my experiment.
What is this?
Our map. We have no navigator. We have no one to read the oceans or the stars. We cannot sail the canoe. Can you read it?
I'm so terribly sorry.
We're all sorry. What will you do with us now?
What do you mean?
Now he is dead. What will you have us do?
Me? Us? It's you who must decide.
No, it's you. Our people will not come for us. We were taken off course. They will look for us, but not here. You have taken our leader. Now you are our leader. We are yours.
How will you deal with the arrival of the Mayflower? What will you get for your Manhattan? How will you handle that?